Ladies and gentlemen, the Palmer Lake VFW from Brooklyn Park. Color guy. And you may be seated. I'll call to the podium Jim Berg and his band of cheerleaders from assorted years.
Look at those fantastic cheerleaders. Excuse me, but I'm a little out of order, but I really want to get pepped up by the school song. If you please, Maestro. Okay, let's get back to the script. How about these fantastic cheerleaders? You know, almost 50 years ago, these ladies performed for us on a milky field. Well, they're back. Tell us who you are, ladies. You know, after all this time, after almost 50 years, it just really takes a lot of guts to get up in front of you. Let's hear it for one more time. Okay, we've all had our own favorite cheers through the years that we went here. And for me, it was like 2 bits, 4 bits, 6 bits, $1, all for Robbinsdale, stand up and holler. But, you know, for the first couple of years, that was great. But maybe in the senior year, you know, it got a little old. So we had to change that a little bit. Some of us changed it to 2 bits, 2 bits, 4 bits, 6. No, I'm getting it wrong, folks. 2 bits, 4 bits, $1.50. All for Edina, stand up and laugh. You know, do you remember at the big game, it was Robbinsdale against Edina? The Robins are out there fighting away at Milky Field. And all the boys and the girls are standing right along the fence. Right along the fence. Talk, 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 talk. Somebody scored. Who scored? Who scored? Who scored? You know, so as your kids grew up, things changed. Things changed. When they wanted to talk, and you're in the bleachers, when they wanted to talk, they just stood up in front of you. Just stand right in front of you. Oh, wait a minute, you make a better door than you do window. Who scored? Who scored? We had to, I don't know what you did down here, but up in Elk River, we had to make a new chant for that. We had to make a new, just a brand new thing. I mean, it was great. It went like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. What are the seats for? Sit down. Well, anyways, we're going to move along here. Okay, if you graduated in 1975 up to 1982, 96, I don't care. On the count of 3, let me hear you say thunder. 1, 2, 3. Thunder. Okay. If you graduated from 1936 to 1959, on the count of 3, let me hear you say thunder. Thunder, come on. Oh, I didn't say 3, did I? 1, 2, 3. That's getting better. If you graduate, this is going to be good now. If you graduated from 1960 to 1969, on the count of 3, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, if you graduated from 1970 to 1979, little overlap there. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I think the 70s group won. Yeah, go ahead, live it up. You all get 2 hours of detention. I think you know where we're going with this. So we're going to do this 3 times. We're going to talk it through. And the 3 times we're going to sing it. Are you ready, ladies? When I give you the word on the count of 3, I hope you all remember how to sing it. On the count of 3, are we ready? Are we ready, ladies? All right, we're going to hit it. Let's raise the roof off the old girl. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thunder, thunder, thunderation. Word the Robbinsdale. Thunder, thunderation, we're the Robbinsdale congregation when we fight. It's okay to join in. Come on, come on. you know, we'll just take this group this will be the Robins. This will be the Robins. Yeah. And this will be the Robins 2, spelled T-O-O. Okay. Sounds like a challenge. Okay, I won't get into that. Thank you very much. Thank you, folks.
Jim, you really should try to loosen up a little bit. Welcome to the Robbinsdale All-School Reunion and Celebration. This is a great day. Those of us who love Robbinsdale High School will always remember this. So take a good look around, because it's not going to happen again. Take a good look, drink it all in, and remember, you're all looking very good, young, I might add. That's quite intimidating to me. Here I'm going to make a short speech. My speech teacher's sitting down here from high school. Now, how crazy is this? And then if that's not bad enough, we have Larry the Axe Henning over here is looking. Welcome. Welcome teachers, principals, staff, students, anybody who loved Robbinsdale, siblings, parents, whatever, welcome. Have you had a good time so far? Now, there was a little bit of planning that went into this. In fact, I'm going to retire after this. It's all over. Oh, as Jackie Gleason used to say, I have to say this, as Jackie Gleason used to say, how sweet it is. This is sweet. It's wonderful to see you here. Took a little planning to do this. 2 years ago, the idea was born, and 18 months ago, we started holding formal meetings. We had a lot of help. We wanted to make this a good event. We wanted you to like it, and we hope that you think we've been successful at it, because it wasn't for lack of trying. If it didn't go smoothly, it wasn't for lack of trying. We did our best. Now, what I want to do is, if you look in your program, you'll notice that we put the committee in a prominent place, and we did that on purpose because we want you to note these people and to show your appreciation to them. I'm going to introduce them. Please hold your applause now until we introduce them all. Most of them are down here. When I read your name, will you please stand? I'm the chairman, Mark Sorensen. I'm already standing. Tom Sweet is our vice chairman, and Tom is in charge of the Medina Ballroom tonight and all the activities there. Earl Johnston is our treasurer and did a lot of running around over the last 18 months. And he also is involved with the Historical Society, which you'll see later on. Linda Halstead Hampton is our treasurer, our secretary, and also in charge of the archives, which we'll talk about. And Linda Kemper, by the way, two of those are from 66. Tom Sweet's from 66, Earl Johnson 51, Linda Hampton from 66. We're kind of heavy in 66 people here, which is good because I'm from 66. And that, last but not least, in our executive committee, now Linda Kemper, she didn't go to school here, but we're going to make her honorary Robbinsdale alumni because she's worked for District 281 for 37 years. Where is she? Now the rest of the committee, you stand when I read your name. Jim Berg, 1967. Brooks Butler, 1957. Kathy Krause Glover, 1974. Jerry Ann Harden, 1975. Mary Blue Helmbrick, 1972. Cheryl Hill, 1974. Lisa Blum Jacobson, 1984. John Jacobson, 1979. Jillian Jeffy Anderson, 1971. Phil Johnson, 1967. Sherry Bajan Lang, who also is our host tonight at the Medina. Wally Langfellow, seated up here with us, 79 also. Marilyn Slepica Laterno, 1963. Dick Michelson, 1957. Bruce T. Middleton, 1957. Heidi Tabers Meyer from 1977 from Cooper. I think that's pretty good if you get somebody from Cooper on your committee. John Nerdall, 1964. Renee Toombs Odell, 1962. Kathy Bauer Potvin, 1963. Mark Pruse from 1971. Mark is not with us. I hope you're watching online, Mark. Mark did a great amount of work. He did a great amount of work. All the pictures you see on the website, most of the pictures that you saw in the auditorium, he did. Thank you, Mark. Hope you're watching. Janice Rock-Sacco, 1973. Howard Schwartz, 1969. Sue Simons, 1973. Jerry Sundgren, 1959. Bruce Vanderschaft, 1974. And Tom Walsh, 1966. Also, I want all of the people on the decorating committee to stand up right now. Let's give you a big hand. Stand up. All right, you may be seated. How many of you here graduated or attended in the 80s? Raise your hand. Well, most of the band over there. All right, how about the 70s? Big contingent. 60s? Almost as big. How about the fabulous 50s? All right, how about the 40s? Look at this. How about the 30s? This is Robert Falink, graduated in 1937. That's 76 years ago, folks. And his family with him, a lot of his children and grandchildren went to Robbinsdale and Cooper, is that right? So that they represent a families that stayed in the district and went to the high schools all through the generations. It's fantastic that you're here with us today. By the way, I'd like to thank Channel 12, who's here, who is streaming this event live around the world on the internet right today as we speak. And you'll be able to see a recorded broadcast tomorrow night at 7 o'clock and other times, and you can get it online, as you can the beautiful Hall of Fame we had last night. By the way, congratulations to all the Hall of Fame inductees last night. We're very proud of you. Very proud. Now, as you came in the front door, if you came in the front door here, if you looked off to the left, what was that? If you looked to the left, you saw a display case, which is now ours. It belongs to Robbinsdale High School in perpetuity and will be, from time to time, rotated with new memorabilia and trophies put in there. So it'll be here on a permanent basis, as will, of course, those plaques that you saw right on either side of the clock in the front lobby. They're here, thanks to the people at Robbinsdale Middle School in District 281. And if you looked in room 132, you saw a tremendous amount of archival material, trophies, memorabilia. We have lots more than what's there. What we want to do is to get more. And we want to make a permanent place for the archives that we can have when we want to have it, and we'll control it. So if you have, who has the 9 Lake Conference football trophies that we're not finding? We're offering an amnesty program to you. No questions asked. That's just a for instance. This is one of the Lake Conference football trophies. There's 2 of them. There should be 11 of them. Is that right? So if you have any material, and some have come forward already, if you have anything you'd like to donate to the archives, watch the website, robbins.classquest.com. It's going to be in perpetuity up from now on, and there'll be a place that we'll have for a permanent archives, which I think is a great thing. Now, before I introduce our MCs, we'll get to you eventually here, folks. Just hang up. I invited Ember Reichgott to come, and she's in New York on a book signing, but she did send me an email last night that she wants me to read to you. It's brief. She says, "Thank you for bringing together our Robbinsdale High School community in a long overdue celebration. Though I cannot join you until Sunday, you know that RHS holds a special place in my heart. Very few legislators have had the opportunity to represent the community where they grew up. I had the privilege to work on behalf of the very people who shaped my core values. I had the privilege to represent the teachers who taught me how to think for myself and to discover my life path. I could not be more grateful for this influence on my life or more proud to be a graduate of Robbinsdale High School. May its legacy live on for generations to come. Sincerely, Ember Reichgott." All right, finally, we're going to introduce our MCs and get the program going. I can't wait to hear these speakers and to hear your response to them. If it's anything like last night, it should be very good. We have 3 MCs. I'm going to introduce first our celebrity MC from Channel 9, Leah Bino, who is a star reporter and anchor for KMSP Fox 9. Leah? And Mr. Sports, if you have cable TV in the Northwest section, all those cities, Channel 12, John Jacobson has been on since 1990. And John is a 1979 graduate of Robbinsdale High School. Also, our third MC, Wally Langfellow, also from the class of 79, also Mr. Sports. He's the editor and publisher of Score magazine, done a lot of TV and radio, and he's just a big PR stud. I want to leave you with a little thought. We did the little cheer before. We want you to know who we are. We're the mighty, mighty Robins from Robbinsdale. Well, I got a little story here. 3 years ago, I was going to rent this place for our 66th reunion, class 45th reunion. I was talking to one of the assistant principals, and I said, you know, this place used to be great. We were #1 in this, and we had the best band and the best drama club, and we were the envy of the whole state. And she goes, hey, you don't have to tell me. I'm from Kansas, and I knew about Robbinsdale High School. We knew all about it. You were #1. You were the envy of everybody. She said that to me. So schools talk about we're #1 and we're the greatest and all that stuff. Well, we just happened to be #1. I'm proud to be a Robin. Thank you.
Well, that's a tough act to follow. Well, our first guest, I had the opportunity to meet about 3 years ago. He is the current middle school principal here at Robbinsdale, and both of my sons went to Robbinsdale Middle School as a middle school. It became officially a middle school, I believe it was 2005, 2006 school year. And there were a number of principals through the years. There were 3 prior to John Cook. John has now been here for 3 years. He has lasted 3 years, and I give him a lot of credit for that. But let me tell you that John Cook has done a great job here at Robbinsdale Middle School. I went in to meet with him about a year ago, and we talked about the Hall of Fame, and we talked about what Mark was planning on this reunion. And I tried to get across how important it was to our community and to graduates and alums and people who were involved with Robbinsdale High School through the years, that we're able to do this and that we have some kind of foundation to build from here at Robbinsdale Middle School. And John completely understands that. He comes to us from a long ways away. He worked at Armstrong for a while before becoming a principal here at RMS, straight from Vicksburg, Mississippi. The Vicksburg Gators. Not a Robbinsdale Robin, but we welcome John Cook.
I am John Cook, and I am proud to be the principal at Robbinsdale Middle School. I've heard a lot of cheers, but I don't think you could beat the cheer from my school. Vicksburg High School, graduate of 1987, our cheer was this: when I'm dead, dead and gone, put that gator on my stone. Today, I'm blessed to represent the Robbinsdale Middle School community. From the students who come to learn here every day, from the hardest working staff that I've had the opportunity to serve and work with, and from our families who work hard and entrust our children to us. On behalf of all of us, I have two words for all of you all, or as we would say from the Deep South, for all of y'all, I have two words: welcome home. In my 2 years as principal at Robbinsdale Middle School, I've learned a lot about the history of Robbinsdale High School. It was a vibrant, proud, positive, and successful school community that boasted academic achievements, athletic success, and a proud and supportive school community. Robbinsdale High School has produced alumni who have been successful in all endeavors, from law to politics, from education to medicine, from the military to business. The successes of the alumni is long and shows the excellence that Robbinsdale High School stood for. However, the success of RHS's alumni is not what made this school successful or special, in my opinion. Hear me out, though. The list of great athletes who walk these halls is impressive, but it is not what made this school special. The school spirit that I feel today in this room and that existed at Robbinsdale High School is truly impressive, but it is not what made this school special. Two words describe why Robbinsdale High School was a truly special place, and those two words are passion and love. I've never seen a school where there's so much passion, love, and admiration for a school, even 30 years after it is closed. It is truly incredible. It humbles me that I've been entrusted to lead a school community that is steeped in tradition, success, and pride, and I do not take this responsibility lightly. You would be proud to know the transformation that is happening at this school, Robbinsdale Middle School. Thanks to the work of our staff, we are building a culture of learning, a culture of achievement, a culture of respect, a culture of caring for one another, and a culture of service to the community. In short, we are working to carry on the torch of excellence that Robbinsdale High School stood for and still stands for to this very day. Thank you again, and welcome home.
Thank you, John. Couldn't have said it better myself. One quick aside, you probably noticed that the mascot now of Robbinsdale Middle School is still a robin. Thank goodness. When my oldest son came here as a 6th grader, was the first year that this became Robbinsdale Middle School, and they had a contest with the students to decide what is going to be the new mascot. And he came home and told me, and I said, well, it's a no-brainer. What do you mean, what's the new mascot gonna be? And so they had a contest. The students submitted their name, the ideas. They had a list as long as my left arm. There were some strange ones, but there was one on there that was submitted by somebody related to me. And it was the Robins. So he submitted, and we went in for a conference about a week or so later, and one of his teachers happened to be the student faculty member that was heading up this crew. And she said, well, we're looking for some people from the community for some of their input. Guess who jumped in? And I also brought in the current mayor at the time. She also asked, she said, well, is there anybody from the community, like a mayor? Or I said, well, how about the mayor of Robbinsdale? At the time was Mike Holtz, who, by the way, Mike Holtz did a fantastic job, and I know our current mayor, Regan Murphy, will echo this, but Mike Holtz was a great mayor for this city of Robbinsdale. He helped carry on the tradition. He helped keep this building what it is, a learning education institution. There were talks about changing what was going to be on this property. And Mike Holtz fought that battle for us, and I wanted to tip my hat to Mike Holtz today. So briefly, to finish my story, Mike and I got on that committee, and there were about a dozen people on the committee. Most of them were students, and there were a few others involved. There were a few faculty members. And we fought hard to perpetrate and have the Robins as the mascot. Well, what the turning point was is the kids weren't convinced, because they see the robin that's up on the water tower, and why do we want to be this little chirpy bird? So I brought in a t-shirt that we use for Robbinsdale Little League that has the robin. I don't know if you've ever seen the Rochester Red Wings robin. It's this big, tough, muscular, Larry Hennig type of looking robin, okay? I pulled this shirt out, and the kids' eyes were wide open. We voted, hands down, we're the Robbinsdale Middle School Robins. All right, let's move on. I mentioned our current mayor is Regan Murphy, who also happens to live right across the street from me in Robbinsdale. We are both at 40th and Orchard. Regan became mayor just in the last election, and he is steeped in Robbinsdale tradition. His mother is a Robbinsdale graduate. I know I saw her. There she is over there. And Monica's here. And Regan was a Cooper graduate. We'll let it go. My kids both at Cooper. There's nothing we can do about it. I had to live with it too. It's the way it is these days, folks. But let's please give a warm welcome to the current mayor of Robbinsdale, Regan Murphy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Wally is correct. I did go to Robbinsdale Cooper, but I will let you know that I did score a touchdown on Milky Field on our last game, so we do have a little bit of connection there. Thanks again, Wally, and I couldn't ask for a better neighbor. God, I'm nervous, I'm excited, and I didn't even go to school here. But what I'm gonna talk about, well, I think will open things up a little bit. But first and foremost, as mayor, official representative of the city, I have to welcome you. For those that still live here and still around, welcome back to school. For those who came from out of town, welcome back to the proverbial nest. As a city, the residents of Robbinsdale businesses definitely want to welcome you. So thanks for being here. I wasn't sure what type of crowd to expect. I figured it'd either be 100 or 1,000, probably somewhere in between. So either way, this is unbelievable. But you're probably wondering, you know, as mayor, what do I have to offer? What can I say about Robbinsdale High School? I'm some young buck mayor that went to Robbinsdale Cooper, and what is it that I can say to inspire you? Well, I think I know enough to be grateful, and that's going to be a big part of what I'm talking about, is I am grateful for all of you that attended this school, and I'm grateful for the school. And because I literally would not be here today if it wasn't for Robbinsdale High School. That's because my mother, 1964 graduate, met my father, a 1966 graduate, in math class somewhere around 1964. They fell in love. They stayed here in Robbinsdale and had me, my brother, and my sister, and raised us right here in town. I also wouldn't be here as mayor if it wasn't for this school. You know, as long as I can remember, my parents always had this like unwavering and steadfast pride for the city and especially this school. I remember my parents bringing me to a candlelight vigil at maybe 81 on the front steps of this school, a time when many people were working tirelessly to keep this school open. My parents acted as if Robbinsdale was the center of the universe and that Whiz Bang Days was a national holiday. And as a kid, that was just how it was. And now I'm instilling that into my children. But my parents grew this deep pride, dedication, and civic duty and connection to the community here at this school, the community in this school. And like Principal Cook talked about, so often we hear about the sports teams and the academics, but that's not what all the school's about. I just find it amazing that the community pride in our hometown didn't go away when the doors closed on this school. You know, recent newspaper articles and a lot of talk has been about Robbinsdale and what a colossal force we were throughout the decades, and again, the academic achievements and the sports teams, and the domination for decades. But I think, no, I know that the best contribution that this school made to Robbinsdale is character. Each one of you that attended this school, that taught here, that worked here, contributed to this school, contributed to the character of Robbinsdale, which goes well beyond the doors of this school. And this is evident in the community even after the unfortunate closing. For those that have moved away, you'd be proud to see how great it is to be in Robbinsdale still. The city is still full of wonderful, fun-loving people that exude modesty, integrity, and generosity. That was Robbinsdale then, and it is still Robbinsdale now. So on behalf of all the residents of Robbinsdale, I want to thank you again for your contributions to making Robbinsdale a great place to live. I just want to close it. It's important that you know how important today is, how important this school is to me. I'm trying not to make eye contact with my mom because I think I'll cry. Love you. But it means a lot. And I'm honored to be mayor. That's why I became mayor, is because how much I love this town and I want to keep it a great place to live. So thank you, Mark Sorensen, for putting this together, and all those people that stood before us and put in all the time. And thank you, MCs and the band. I'll try to stick around. My daughter's got a birthday party today, but I hope to visit and come back tomorrow. So please introduce yourself. If you have any great memories to share with me, I'd love to hear them. And that's about it. Go Robins. Thank you.
Thanks, Regan. And I didn't even mention the pool incident. And I like the way he said Robbinsdale Cooper. It's okay. It didn't really pacify me, but that's okay. That's kind of how all of us felt. Anyway, all right. We're going to dig into the history of Robbinsdale High School a little bit now, and as we do that, our guest host here, Leah Bino, is going to bring us back and give us some of the history of Robbinsdale and how it went from 1936 to eventually through 1982. Leah?
You all look so beautiful out there. Just wonderful turnout. Well, some of you may remember, in 1935, the population in and around the village of Robbinsdale was increasing. Elementary and junior high students were educated in Robbinsdale, but then you had to attend North or Edison High School to get your diploma. At a school board meeting in June, a committee of Henry Hartig, E.J. Cooper, William Kavanaugh, and Frank Hosterman was established to pursue the possibility of Robbinsdale building a new high school. First, they went to the state legislature, where they were told it was possible. After getting their blessing, the PWA, Public Works Administration, under Harold Ickes, was contacted. In a short period of time, they were told the federal government would grant $122,400 toward the construction of the new school. With this in hand, the city went to the voters with a referendum for $130,000 to finance the remaining money for the school. In September, voters approved the project by a vote of 621 to 146. In October, Haxby and Bissell architects were selected, and by December, the plans were ready for building. The low bidder was Steenberg and Peterson. The site was chosen was the southwest corner of 42nd and Regent Avenues next to the original Parker School, and the first thing done was moving Stilser and Weinard's houses. The homes were not easy to move because of their heights. By March 5th, 1936, construction began. On March 18th, foundations were poured, and by April 9th, brick laying was underway, and it took the bricklayers 2 days to install the design of just the main entrance. Construction proceeded during the summer. A staging broke, injuring 5 workmen, and the only slowdown came when a company that didn't have the lowest bid was awarded the electrical work, including the intercom system. It was settled, and by August, it appeared that the September 7th open would happen. However, they found out that the wood flooring for the auditorium would not be on time. To save time, the supplier freighted the flooring directly to Robbinsdale Railroad Depot, 3 blocks from the school. It only set the opening back a week. School opened September 14th, 1936, with 960 enrolled.
Thank you, Leah. There's more history to come. We're going to keep you in suspense in case you're not sure how it turns out at the end. We have another number of speakers that are coming up here, some alums, some teachers. And one of them, who's unfortunately not able to be with us today, is Roger Thompson. He was the Robbinsdale High School band director from 1964 until 1982. He did write a letter with us, for us rather, to share with you today. And he starts out, "Hello, Robbins. Let the celebration begin for this wonderful building, our pride and joy from the 1950s. And to think it was called outdated over 30 years ago. Other than this building, we had a caring community, a fine faculty teaching a well-designed education program, and a great student body. My journey to RHS began when Lynn and I moved to Minnesota, and my good friend Dick Davis told me about a position in District 281 at Robbinsdale High School. After meeting Bob Mendenhall and Milo Milkey, I was hired and became part of a great band program that allowed me to fulfill my career goals in music education." And Roger writes, "Why was RHS so special? Number one, the campus featured a building designed for a comprehensive high school. Courses provided the curriculum for a general, vocational, or college preparatory emphasis that offered an excellent reflection of the community. 2, the 281 community, led by the school board and the city of Robbinsdale, had a diverse population large enough to afford strong educational programs that attracted new citizens. From the merchants to the parents and the general public, there was enormous pride in the school's extracurricular programs through their successes in athletics and the arts. The Robbinsdale City Band and Community Choir were very active, with an average of 25 concert or parade performances a year for the band and concerts for the choir. Robbinsdale became a true all-American city. When I retired from directing the Robbinsdale City Band, Mike Serber took over as band director and has done a great job. I want to acknowledge Mike and thank him for that. And thank you again for the band. It's been wonderful, and we're going to hear from you again before we're done today. The staff, Roger says, made up of skilled professionals who supported one another, was inspiring to work with and respected by their students. How about Selene and Berg for orchestra, Adams for choir, Quam and Anderson for art, Lubke and Plut for the dynamic duo of drama, and that's just for the arts. Then there's a morning in the lounge when Tom Leckler was questioned about one of my memos that began with a preposition. His response was, how about, in the beginning God created, etc. Tom was just many of the fine teachers and coaches who carried the torch from RHS to the rest of District 281. Roger also wanted to share this story. In the early 1960s, when Bob Mendenhall and I were teaching together, Bob was trying to quit smoking, and he wrapped Scotch tape all around his last pack of cigarettes so he would be reminded. A visitor came to meet with him in the teacher's lounge. A half hour later, he came back and told me he spent the whole conversation trying to open that pack and never did succeed. At least he could laugh about it. And another story, Art Kramer, who was a teacher here, was always on a diet, so we brought a grapefruit every day for his lunch. However, when he finished it, he was known to help others finish their dessert. Roger had this to say about the parents. We hit the jackpot. Did you realize that the chaperones paid their way on our trips, including Europe, Washington, D.C., Dallas, Los Angeles, and many others? They paid for lessons, came to concerts, and assisted in every fundraiser so their child could have an extracurricular experience in music. I have to mention the Broyns and Warren Clark for their loyalty and many hours of service. The students, how proud I was of the dedication to their craft and the desire to perform at a high level. The performances you gave were an inspiration to your school, your parents, and community. I am so grateful to have been in a position to know you and to work with you, but you must always remember that it took the efforts of many people to help you achieve your goals, and it is now your duty to continue the effort. You have given me so much joy and many wonderful memories. Finally, the legacy. What began here set the stage for the future of Robbinsdale School District 281. The ability to remain relevant in the lives of our students will determine our success. So give yourselves a little cheer and commit to keeping the legacy alive. P.S. Check out the archives. Sincerely, Roger Thompson, Ph.D., band director, history teacher. I want to welcome now the first of our speakers, John Nerdall, who is a 1964 graduate of RHS, its first class president, and he won 8 letters in sports here, captained both the football and basketball teams. John went on to West Point, where he was a football starter for 3 years, later returning to coach there for 3 years. His father, Herb, was a longtime math teacher and football coach at Robbinsdale. John is retired after 35 years with 3M and lives in Lakeville. Please welcome John Nerdall.
Oh, wow. I thought I was, because of all the memories we've been sharing today, that I had acne like I did in high school, but it's just shivers up and down my back sharing all of these memories. It's all rushing back, and it's a wonderful opportunity for all of us to share. Regan, I didn't know that your dad graduated the same year I did, nor your background in the Robbinsdale School District. It is Governor Murphy, right? Oh, is it? Okay, all right. Before I say anything else, I just want to give a shout out to all the 64 grads out there who have the distinction of beginning the baby boom generation when they were born and ending it when they graduated in 1964, which was the largest graduating class in Robbinsdale and in the state, for that matter, at least up till that point. Now, a couple 63 grads were arguing with me about that. We'll work that out afterwards in the playground, but I think Robbinsdale 64 was. When asked to speak here, I thought there were many others more qualified, until I realized how unique my RHS experience was growing up in the shadows of both the original and the new high schools. 3939 Regent, where I grew up and spent all but 2 years until leaving home, was the epicenter of District 281, and I'll tell you why. Probably the best first illustration of that is to describe my dad's commute to work. For the first half of his career, he'd walk 30 feet to the end of the sidewalk, and he'd take a left, and he would walk a block and a half to the original high school. For the second half of his career, he'd walk the same 30 feet to the end of the sidewalk, take a right, and walk 2 blocks to this high school, Toledo Avenue. Virtually every one of those commutes to the newer school was preceded by our good friend Doc Spurrier. Showed up at our door. He lived about 3 doors down, where we'd all catch a few minutes of Boone and Erickson before he and Dad took off to work. And that's a whole nother story about Boone and Erickson. Now think for a minute what kind of car that meant my parents needed. Mom was always a homemaker, and all I remember are used Studebakers, Packards, and during my prime dating years, that iconic chick magnet on wheels, the Etzel station wagon. No wonder I didn't date very much, but that's another story for another day. We were so close to the old school, I could reach the old football field from my driveway with a rock. Well, it was an aerodynamic rock. I had the wind at my back, and it was a low humidity day, but I could get there, and it was downhill. And I remember exactly how many steps it was to this school. You do tend to remember how many steps it is when you're walking in minus 30-degree temperature. I think it was, I'm too cold to remember. Not only were we close to both schools, we also lived on the main thoroughfare, Regent Avenue, which turned eventually into a one-way street after I left home. And that connected the 2 schools. Streams of kids walking both directions between the schools was a weekday occurrence. And how about that caravan of school buses going down that connecting road every day, especially for away football games? I'm guessing today a lot of us would consider such proximity to so much foot and auto traffic to be unsettling and obtrusive and maybe even unsafe. But then it was truly fun and exciting. It was truly a different time. Being so centrally located and having a, I don't know how many know my dad, but a soft-spoken dad, so engaged with the school, it probably doesn't take a brain surgeon dabbling in rocket science to understand how central HRS was in my life. During one of the more impressionable periods, I was a locker room rat, hanging around RHS football players where I learned my first cuss words and where I formed my first notion about heroes and role models. Think about this. The 6 years from 1956 to 1961, Robbinsdale football lost only 3 times. We knew they were good, but I didn't know how good they were until I actually reviewed that statistic. And that was in the toughest conference in the state. So in the small world of a impressionable, squeaky, 11 to 16-year-old, that meant my high school heroes and my dad never lost, virtually. Heck, it wasn't until I was an adult, I thought about this when Wally was speaking, yay, the little robin that's still the mascot for this school. It wasn't until I was an adult until I realized the robin was a sweet and harmless bird. Not some kind of ferocious, meat-eating carnivore. That's what we wanted it to be, and they were during those years. My memories include a standing crowd only of 11,000 fans playing under the lights as arch rivals Edina and Robbinsdale squared off. And then the next morning, running down to that football field that I could reach with a rock and searching underneath the stands for valuable coin and other droppings. And then that Sunday, getting to church and hearing Pastor Narathan congratulate the team midway through his sermon. It was really cool. And this was a time when sports heroes were more than just good athletes. And any of those of you who attended the Hall of Fame were aware of all that in evidence last night. Think about these names, taking that period of time that I was talking about. 1956, Pat Gorman. 1957, Elling, Taft, Kelfkin, Suplik, Brooks. 1958, Leckler, Wheeler, Knoxine. 1959, Hook, Claridge, Lillyholm, all members inducted into the Hall of Fame last night. 1960, Giles and Amundsen. 1961, Peterson, Ellingson, and Bassett. Peterson into the Hall of Fame last night. Most were also school leaders who turned out to be successful doctors, lawyers, teachers, business, and many others. And they were all good guys, role models worthy of emulation. Yeah, it was a special time, maybe a unique time, when we felt relatively safe and secure, when our futures and roles weren't as ambiguous as they are today to the kids growing up, and when we respected and trusted our sports heroes, teachers, churches, and even strangers. Yeah, we didn't, a lot of us didn't lock our doors. We inherently trusted strangers. And so institutions in general, I think you could say we trusted. And that meant a great deal to a young person growing up in an impressionable time of their life. And we're very fortunate to have lived through that. I'm sure, also during this time, as we all know, the media was much more benign, a lot less crude. Not like none of our, I think, would be embarrassed to be watching TV with our grandkids today. Not like today when my hip 9-year-old grandson and I were watching TV when a TV ad came on with actors looking romantically at each other and talking about having to go to the doctor after experiencing a certain condition for 3 to 4 hours. Holden, my grandson, pressed me about it, and I won't tell you what I said, but I will tell you that I got him a Rector set for Christmas. You got to win and know the right time to talk about these things. Yeah, like they say, change is the only constant, culturally and physically. Despite the rich history of RHS, the original school grounds is now covered by a huge townhome complex. The spot where we flip coin at midfield to start the game is now the meat section at Cubs. I actually went and checked it out. It is. And we can no longer drive down Highway 100 to get a glimpse of both magnificent high schools framed behind those fragrant lilac bushes, visually reminding us of RHS's history. Now you speed by at 65 miles an hour down a traffic pipe without a visual hint of the school's storied history. Much of the bricks and mortar are gone, but the most important RH legacy lives on in our hearts and minds, and it's nurtured by our friends and memories. And this reunion is a terrific way to invigorate and keep those memories alive. And we've seen that all the way up till now, and I'm sure we'll continue to see that today and through the dance tonight. And I just also, Mark did a great job thanking everyone. I mean, it was an extraordinary effort on the part of the committee. But I also wanted to thank a couple people in particular. Mark Sorensen, who was the inspiration. Wally Langenfeld was the inspiration for the Hall of Fame. Linda Kemper, again, for being not just the glue, but the lubricant that kind of kept this effort going. And it's hard when you got so many paid contributors, you know. And they all tirelessly did a great job of pulling it off. So just a real applause for them. I do have one thing that Dad would be disappointed with me if I didn't make a social comment. Not too risky, perhaps, but I'm going to give it a try. Particularly last night at the Hall of Fame, and even now as I'm speaking, that was a great time when we grew up. Even in the storytelling session this morning, we did a show of hands of whether or not people would appreciate going back to the no jeans and measure how far the hem is off the floor deal with what it's like today. As much as that would upset them, 100 people walked out because they were upset with it. They all voted for the way it was. It doesn't make it better. Maybe we're biased. But one thing that particularly those of us who participate in sports, us guys did have an advantage. And I think we all appreciate how fortunate as guys were growing up then too, particularly in sports. Because right now, these cheerleaders who were cheering for us back then are now athletes today, getting their own cheerleaders cheering for them, and in fact, perhaps competing with the guys for ice time and field time and that sort of thing. And that's a wonderful thing. And it's too bad they can't be up here waxing poetically about their athletic exploits back in the day. So that's one little disclaimer that I think is significant, and it's a great improvement in the whole high school contribution. Okay, I'm about halfway through. No, I just want to thank you for this opportunity. And Mark said, enjoy it, because it's not going to happen again. But hopefully those memories will be reinvigorated, and that's what's going to sustain us. And we're going to have other things, maybe not of the magnitude and the splendor of this, but will help rekindle those. Thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much, John. We have one of our teachers come up in just a moment, but before Phyllis Kromer comes up, I wanted to ask anybody here who was a teacher at Robbinsdale High School to please stand. If there are any other teachers, please stand and be recognized. Wonderful education system that Mark talked about early, and thank you for being here. Our next speaker is Phyllis Kromer, who was a Robbinsdale High School speech and English teacher from 1958 until this building closed as a high school in 1982. She was also the director of declamation, and says she hopes she affected the lives of many students who went into the world of business and education. Ladies and gentlemen, Phyllis Kromer.
Good afternoon. It's a real pleasure to be back here in the Robbinsdale Gym, the location of hundreds of pep fests, athletic events, special occasions, and awards ceremonies. Our annual awards ceremonies celebrated academic and athletic achievements, drama, debate, declamation, and music accomplishments, and much more. There were awards for those of you in auto and wood shop, in work-study programs, in recovery, in special education, and those of you rising about life's difficulties. The full spectrum of life at RHS was celebrated. Today, let's continue the celebration with a number of tributes. As one of the largest Minnesota schools during the 60s and 70s, we built outstanding debate teams, produced professional musicals and plays, and developed speakers and performers in declamation. While we led the state for many years with a number of awards at district, regional, and state one-act and speech contests, we were always mindful of those students who did not win medals or trophies. Those students made great progress in their performing during the season and were, as we like to say, building character. One of our most favorite speech trips each year was to Duluth over President's Holiday, traveling by bus with Armstrong and Cooper, along with the Duluth-Denfeld Speech Festival. We had great fun staying downtown in the old Duluth Hotel. Reminiscing about girls and sports, I'm sure some of you early graduates played girls basketball. Do you recall that girls could only take one dribble, and that forwards played one end of the court, and guards and the center played the other end of the court? Eventually that changed. But more significantly, in 1972, the Title IX legislation passed, creating sports equity for girls. Girls' sports teams were added at Robbinsdale and flourished. Not only that, we as teachers noticed how quickly girls began to take important leadership roles in other activities and certainly in the classroom. After Title IX, girls could even dream of playing on a team such as our championship Minnesota Lynx. Over many years, education in District 281 could be labeled as progressive and innovative. I would like to pay tribute to one of our administrators, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Gamlin. His knowledge and experience in the field of curriculum were the underpinnings of cutting-edge changes in our schools. For example, during his tenure, we began numerous programs for students with disabilities, students who were mainstreamed into our student body. Along with other teachers, I had students with various physical differences, such as blindness, hearing loss, epilepsy, Down syndrome, and others. We worked cooperatively with their special education teachers, tutors, and therapists. Let me tell you about just one of those students. Kathy Dobbins, a person who was blind from early childhood. Kathy was a brilliant student. She walked with a white cane, leaving each class a little early so as to proceed through quiet halls to her next class. In my classes, I required every person to learn everyone's name, always important to develop esprit de corps and classroom community. Each day, in the first couple of weeks of school, 2 or 3 students would volunteer to say all the names. In her speech class, Kathy was the first person to volunteer. Not only did she say the names of all her classmates, but day after day, as students came into the classroom saying hi to her, she would greet them by name. A truly remarkable student. Mainstreaming was just one of the forward-looking programs begun under Dr. Gamlin's leadership. Now, today, I won't guarantee that we teachers will be able to call all of you, our Robbinsdale students, by name. However, I pay tribute to you with great admiration and high regard.
I love how she started off with good afternoon, just took you right back to the classroom mode. So getting back to some of the history, after the Second World War, the population boom started to return with 250,000 GIs. All the suburbs around Minneapolis and St. Paul started to grow. Robbinsdale and Bloomington were two of the first suburbs to feel the strain of their educational facilities. In the 50s, the enrollment exploded. The only way to accommodate the student body growth was to build new elementary, junior high, and eventually senior high schools. The high school enrollment was nearly 2,500 students. For the new high school, the property on 36th and Highway 100 was purchased, and the architect Bissell and Blair was chosen to design the project. In 1955, the ground was broken so the school would be ready for opening in September of 1956. The cost was estimated at $2.7 million. E.J. Cooper, with his assistant, Mr. Ironside, was the superintendent. Milo Milkey was the assistant. Mr. Ulrich was the principal. The school included 55 classrooms with special band and choir rooms. The lunchroom seated 650 students, and the auditorium over 800. 57 teachers and 5 counselors were there for the students' needs. In 1970, Armstrong High School opened in the Robbinsdale School District, Cooper just 5 years before. In 1970, the district topped out at 28,500 students. Again, this would change the makeup of the student body at RHS. Kids that had shared their school experiences would now be cheering for rivals whenever the schools played each other. In 1972, the original Parker School would be demolished. In 1976, a brand new gymnasium would be constructed at Robbinsdale High School. Though the enrollment was reduced, the Robbinsdale student body continued to perform as well, if not better, than the other schools in the conference, not only in sports, but in academic competition as well. The only thing to suffer was the football program, which finished near the bottom of the conference the last 4 years. However, other Robin teams were winning or sharing championships right through the last year. In 1981, due to the decline in the school district 281 enrollment, the decision was made to close the senior high school. The debate centered on which one to close. Superintendent Hood recommended that Robbinsdale should stay open. The 6-member school board recommended to close Cooper, but for whatever reason, a deadlock occurred. Next, Armstrong was recommended, but again, a deadlock. A consulting panel was engaged and recommended to close Robbinsdale. The board voted. When Mr. Milkey heard the decision, he said it was the worst decision the board could make because it took away the identity of the school and also the city of Robbinsdale, one always being tied to the other. To this day, it is a sore point with many of the 20,000 plus students who were Robins. During the 46 years of Robbinsdale High School, the athletic teams, bands, choirs, orchestras, and many organizations attended championships and awards, defining what a great school it was. So sit back and enjoy this weekend and be proud that you are a Robin.
Boy, I didn't need to hear all that again. All right. Some levity now. Larry Hennig is our next guest speaker. He graduated from Robbinsdale in 1954 from the old high school building on Regent Avenue. He was a standout in football and wrestling for RHS, and later went on to enjoy a long and successful career that many of you know about in the world of professional wrestling, better known for most of us as Larry the Axe Henning. Larry. Is this part of a wrestling gig, or? You know, they used to do this on professional wrestling. They disappear, and then I'm waiting for him to jump out from the ceiling or something. There he is. See, he wanted a grand entrance. That's what this is about. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Larry the Axe Hennig.
This is quite a school. You don't even have to flush here. It's all automatic. I'm going to talk, but I want to have a nice introduction.
This is off the cuff, by the way. I have not seen this. I know. They taught me in television not to make sure you read pre-read before you go on the air with anything. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you an all-state football player. I see what he's doing here. He's pining to get into the Hall of Fame. And we knew all this. An undefeated and state heavyweight champion wrestler, a professional world champion wrestler, and was inducted into the Luthez Dan Gable Wrestling Hall of Fame in Waterloo, Iowa. He is the CEO of Larry Hennig Realty and Auction Company. I am proud to present to you a 1954 graduate of Robbinsdale High School, Larry, once again, the Axe Hennig.
My world travels took me all over the world. Amazing, huh? But when you met somebody from Robbinsdale, you couldn't tell them much because they knew a lot. And I didn't mean that to be callous in any way. And my wrestling coach, and when I finished with football, I went out for basketball. And I kept hitting my head on the rim, and John came over and said to me, Larry, I think you better start wrestling. The first year that I wrestled for John, I took third in the state, never wrestled before in my life. So that tells you what kind of coach he is, what kind of man builder he is, and what a great person. John, would you stand up, please, John, for me? I want to give John Grygelko a good one. Yes, stand up, folks, stand up. Okay, next I want to talk about my beautiful wife, Irene Lechner. She was a local girl, and we started going together 62 years ago. We had 5 children, and now we have 23 grandchildren. And a lot of them are a pain in the ass, I can tell you that. So, you know how that goes, folks. I've got a lot more information here, but I want to say the class of 1954 was a class with a lot of class. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Jack Theide was a Robbinsdale High School principal and social studies teacher from 1956 until 1982. He was very instrumental in great changes required because of the extreme growth and enrollment at Robbinsdale before Cooper High School opened in 1964 and later Armstrong in 1970. He was here for a lot of us through all the years of this building, and I want to welcome Jack Theide now to the stage.
first of all, boo, is it coming through? First of all, thank you very much to the organizers and all the committees for the invitation to be here. I tell you, it was a surprise and it was an honor, but then I began to look back, and I'm probably one of the only survivors of the high school administration left. Most of them have sort of gone over the hill. I have a note, I made a few notes. I didn't write out a total speech, but I think sometimes of George Burns, you know, the old comedian. And he always used to say, I'm happy to be here. He says, at my age, I'm happy to be anywhere. I came to Robbinsdale High School in 1956 after 4 years in the outstate schools and small schools. And the step from that situation to coming to Robbinsdale High School with this building, that was the year this building opened. I, being a small country boy, although this, and I graduated from a high school in upper Wisconsin. I was one of 8 students. And I did rank 3rd in my class. There were 2 young ladies who studied and were more intelligent than I. I shared earlier with the people who came for the round table, I applied at Robbinsdale High School and came in for an interview with Milo Milky. And Milo asked me some pertinent questions, but he says, I think E.J. Cooper would like to see you. Now, that left me in doubt because did Milo see something that he didn't quite like or understand, and he was passing the buck on to E.J.? I don't know. I knocked on E.J.'s door, and LaVon Cooper sent me around to the back because E.J. was piling wood. And I, all dressed up, and him in his wood-piling grubs, he says, well, sit down. So we sat on the wood pile, and he started to interview me. I look back at it, and I didn't get a question on educational philosophy or this or that. He said, where are you from? I told him I'm out of the northwestern part of Wisconsin, a small town. And I wasn't aware at that time that E.J. was familiar with that territory, but the Cooper family had a summer home 10 miles north of Hayward at a little community called Cable. And he looked at me and says, you're from up in that country? He's, God, he says, you're nothing but a Jack Pine savage. And I said, well, yes, I guess that's what they call it. But after listening to him for about a half hour, he says, well, he says, you go back and tell Milky, he says, you'll do. And that was my interview, and that's how I became a Robin. And I was a Robin from 1956, when this building opened, and until it closed in 1982. I was in the social studies department, and the senior social division of the Social Studies Department was Doc Spurrier and Bill Driver. Now, I learned soon that Doc didn't smile for the first month of his class until he figured he had him buffaloed or something, I don't know, and then he smiled and opened up and was as congenial as you could hope. And Bill Driver had a knack for humor, and they weren't all that great. I have one here for you. He'd ask the kids, he'd say, I got a riddle for you. He says, what weighs 1,000 pounds, is yellow and black, and it flies? No one could answer that. Finally, he would say, it's very simple. He says, 2 500-pound canaries. That became known as a driverism. Mr. Milky had a heart attack about 60, and I had done preparation in education administration, so they drafted me for the role of assistant principal. But that was the time when the Robbinsdale Junior High was known as the North Campus. And we started out about half of the sophomore class over there for the academics in the classrooms, and then brought those people over here for the specialties, home ec and auto and wood shop and so forth. So every day we did this. Now I did that for half a day and taught 2 classes for the other half. So I'm trying to wear hats all over the place and learn what my job was. But apparently they found my efforts had worked and results satisfactory, so they put me on at full time. And I shared this with the group this morning too, and I think it's something, people, that in education we have to recognize that we are dealing with young people in a very important formative stage of their lives. And Milo Milky took me into his office and he said, I expect you to be loyal, to work with my team. And I understood that. But he said, the other thing I want you to be certain about, and that is when a student comes in to your office for a disciplinary reason, if that student leaves your office with less self-worth and less dignity that they had when they entered, he said, you have hurt that young person. And I think, you know, if that pervades an activity, a human activity, then we, at least I think, are on the right path. And I tried to follow that, and of course we all know that what we try to do doesn't always succeed and so forth. Well, I had the privilege of working with, as Phyllis so neatly outlined, the various programs, activities, and opportunities for young people. This place was humming with activity and positive activity. And you know how important that really is. We have heard how Robbinsdale was at the top, or if not at the top, near the top in certain areas and so forth, in the Lake Conference, you know, then we weren't doing the job. But we were doing the job. The Lake Conference was the premier conference in the state of Minnesota for a number of years. Then, of course, came along the demographics changed, our enrollment went down, and you know, and so forth. The Vietnam War, the drugs invaded. We had the blue jeans revolution. Well, just as an aside, we suspended a lot of young people because they were not following the rule of no jeans. Blue jeans particularly. And of course, when you're suspended, you have to be reinstated. And I never knew what was coming through the door next. One parent would come in with the son or daughter carrying a pair of jeans that were shredded and said, "Now, this is what I did to these so that my child will not come to school in violation of that rule." But you're finished with that one, and the door opens again, and you got the parent who's on the other side of that coin saying, you know, "What do you mean? These are clean jeans. They da 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 da." How do you handle that? You see. And as I mentioned, the Vietnam social unrest, upheaval, the protests. How many of you know that we had, during that time, a walkout by students in one of our elementary schools? One hand over here, maybe. You know what the cause was? They were protesting because they couldn't get chocolate milk in the cafeteria. So you see how far down and how far it permeated. I spent 35 years in education. And when I came here, it was a revelation to me that something so big, so organized, and so directed by people who cared, who were talented, were trained to do the job of educating young people. And I was so pleased that I did have the opportunity to share that with them. It made my life.
Good to see you again. Thank you, Jack. And Jack reminded me as he walked up here, I tell you, you just never know what people are going to remember. He was one of the principals at RHS when I was here, and he was one of the faculty members that came. My family hosted the Honor Society picnic cookout, and he just walked up to me and said, "That was a great cookout at your house." This is 1979. Jeez, great memory. Our next scheduled speaker was Julian Hook, and Julian is not here today. He was with us last night for the Hall of Fame, Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and he was unable to be here with us today. And just a quick word about the Hall of Fame induction ceremony last night. We inducted 12 members, and it was our inaugural induction last night, and we are going to continue. This is just the first. I see some of the members are here. I see Larry Peterson. Larry, he was inducted last night into the Hall of Fame, and we will continue to induct members. The hope is to have another induction ceremony next year. 1 year from now, and then do it every other year after that. And we will be interested to hear from you. Any ideas that you might have, just make sure you go to the Robbins Quest website. It's listed in your program. Our next speaker is Patsy Green, and she is a District 281 school board member. And before I introduce Patsy, real quickly, I wanted to recognize another former school board member and former mayor of Robbinsdale. I know she still is here, Joy Robb. Or Joy, are you here? There she is. There's Joy Robb. And for those of you who don't know, Joy fought the good battle to try and keep this building open and to get it reopened. She was the leading person in that charge. And so I wanted to recognize Joy. As I said, our next speaker is Patsy Green, and Patsy is a District 281 school board member. Patsy actually helped keep this building a middle school. We had a little bit of a battle not that long ago where this building was going to turn into an elementary school, believe it or not. And Patsy was on the side of those to keep this as a middle school, as a secondary school, which we needed one on this side of the district. So right now, I'd like to introduce District 281 board member Patsy Green.
Hello everyone. As he said, I'm Patsy Green. I'm on the current Robbinsdale School Board, and I am really honored to be here today to talk to you. I would first like to introduce a couple of school board members that serve with me currently. Tom Walsh and our chair, Sherry Terrell, are both here today. And I'd like to express our gratitude and our thanks to the Volunteer Planning Committee who worked so hard for 2 years to bring this to fruition. Fabulous job that you all did. And I'm also really heartened. I wear two hats here today, and I've been back in the Robin's Nest cafeteria, and I've been really great to see so many people here sharing their stories and meeting with families and enjoying their time today. I think you are a real validation to the legacy of the Robbinsdale High School and the work that the school district did back then and the work that we continue to do now. We are still educating 12,000 students. We have had a decline, but we're not unusual that way. Statewide, nationwide districts decline. And I can say as part of the school district, we have closed 4 schools. Like he said, you know, the vote was difficult between a couple middle schools, and we've opened 1 school. Closing schools is not fun. Opening them is way more fun, I can tell you that. But you've all gone on to have successful careers. You've raised your families. You've gotten involved in your communities, and our world is a better place because of you. And I'm proud to be able to share a part of your legacy today. As you know, you had great experiences here, and we continue to have great experiences here in Robbinsdale, the Robbinsdale Area School District. You know, we have 10 fabulous neighborhood elementary schools and 2 magnet schools. We have a Spanish immersion, and we have a STEM school. You know, STEM is the latest thing: science, technology, engineering, maths. And we continue to exceed in the arts. And both of our high schools have outstanding college prep courses. They're highly rated high schools with advanced placement, AP, and international baccalaureate, the IB programs with great college prep. I also want to report that even with the ongoing stresses of public education, we are in great financial position in this district. And while I'm pleased to stand here and talk about the successes you had in the past and the successes we have going on now, I'd like to ask you to continue your outstanding legacy for the Robbinsdale Area School District. There are many areas for involvement here in the school district. We have district-wide opportunities for you, and I would also challenge you to consider adopting a class, adopt a classroom, adopt Robbinsdale Middle School as an effort with your legacy to carry it forward. We would really appreciate that, and the 7 Dreams Education Foundation is ready to help you with that. Speaking of the Education Foundation, 7 Dreams, I'm going to switch my hats. I've been wearing my hat out back, and I have hat hair, so I'm going to just go back to having my hat hair for the Seven Dreams Foundation. And the Seven Dreams Education Foundation is the foundation that supports the school district. And it is named Seven Dreams because we serve 7 cities, either totally or partially. So that's how we came up with the 7 dreams, and we want our academic dreams to take flight. The 7 Dreams is a nonprofit, it's a 501c3, and we do many great things for the district. One of them was the Alumni Committee. I'd like to give a shout out again to Tom Walsh and to Linda Kemper, who were on the Alumni Committee that planted the seed for this great reunion. Some of the other major things we have going on is our hands-on learning grants in the classrooms, our Instruments for Kids campaign, which maybe if you've been in the cafeteria, you've heard about it. We had 2 people that were here last night bring instruments today for our Instruments for Kids campaign. So we make sure that every student that wants to play an instrument can have an instrument. We're also embarking on a campaign to enhance our STEM programs in our middle schools and have great technology for our middle schools. So I'm going to be brief. Please check out the Robin's Nest concessions in the back. 7 Dreams is doing that for you for this weekend as part of one of our fundraisers. We also have a souvenir bag, reunion souvenir bag that you can have for a small donation to the foundation. And we have the door prizes. One is a big picture of Melky Field from 1963, the Robbinsdale, picture of the Robbinsdale train depot, and we have bricks from the original high school. Those are some of our door prizes. So again, thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your weekend, and go Robins.
Our final speaker tonight is John Grygelko, and before we get to John's speech, I gotta tell you a quick story. John grew up 4 doors down from my sisters and I grew up on 38th and Adair, and the Grygelkos lived on our block. And every year at Halloween, John would get up, and he'd get up on the roof of his house, and he'd scare little kids like me when I was like 8 years old, and jump down. He would get down, and it was a good time, actually. It's not a scary memory, it's a good memory, but I remember that from John and all the great neighbors we had growing up in Crystal. John spent over 30 years here as a physical education and wrestling coach, the member of the State High School Wrestling Coaches Hall of Fame. Please welcome John Grygelko.
I don't know if I need that, but we'll see. Can you people hear me if I talk like this? Okay. You want to hold the microphone? Yeah, I guess so. Why don't you hold it? There you go. Hold it. Okay. Don't want it too far, though. That cord's only so long. Okay. I was told that I was going to have to limit my speech to 2 minutes. That went down the drain a long time ago, but so I didn't write anything up because due to an operation I had on my neck, I lost 7/8 of my sight, so I can't read very well, and now I listen to books. But I got hired in 1951, about the same way Jack said. There wasn't anything fancy, isn't anything like that, and got hired on the spot and signed a contract, and that was it. And that was for $2,650 a year. And I got $275 for being the head wrestling coach for 4 months, and I got $250 for being an assistant football coach. So I made around $3,000 a year. And things got better later on. My folks were immigrants from Poland. Dad never went to school, but he could read and write, and speak three languages. My mom went to 3rd grade, and then they needed her on the farm. These people raised me with love, and they taught me what the heck work was, and I have a master's degree. All my kids graduated from college. All my grandkids have now graduated from college, and got a couple of little peewees coming up, great-grandchildren, and they're just the greatest thing. But what I'm getting at is you learn to work. The great football coach for the Washington Redskins said, "Give me a wrestler every time they know what a work ethic is." And that's one thing that's left our country. People break a sweat and they think they're going to die. It was easy here at Robbinsdale. We had a wonderful middle-class base. These people knew what work was. They taught their kids to work. They taught their kids to set goals, and they taught discipline. And so at school, and I don't know, I taught here for 34 years. I never had any trouble. But maybe it was because I was a fairly tough person, too. But we never did have any. And, you know, if I had to shape up a kid, I did, and nobody got criticized, and a little hardwood applied to his hind end, you get their attention. You can't do that anymore now. We were so close. Larry and I are best friends, and his wife, I saw to it that they got married. I led them through that whole crisis. He thought he was Mr. Handsome. And I thought I was. I lost that contest. I was trying to think about what the heck I was going to say, you know, because I can't read very well anymore. My wife helped me with some notes and stuff, and I says, "Hon, you better forget about it." And speaking of hon, stand up. That's my lovely wife, and she's not only my best friend, but she's my fantasy, I guess I would say. She's just a dandy wife, and we live up on a nice lake up by Bemidji, and the day after I retired, I headed north. And the thing that made it easy for me to leave here is when they closed this school. One year we had 12 National Merit Scholars. 1 year. I mean, we had the world by the tail. And they closed this place, and I had led I was very vocal, and to this day, I'm proud I was, and it was a travesty, okay? Anyhow, the reason it was so easy to teach here is we had all these kids with parents that goal set, that were willing to work and all that, and put it in their kids. Then you bring them to school, light a little fire in them. I was so proud of my family and that my grandsons, Tom was a champion wrestler, my son, and then my grandsons, one of them, which was just up here helping me up here, they won 4 straight state championships at St. Michael, and they have 16 state medals for the 4 of them. They know how to succeed, and they know how to work. If you look at my grandson, where is he, Tom? Where? That's Jake. Jake, get up here. Well, if you can see, underneath that loose t-shirt, there's a lot of man. And I got, Tom's other two boys are just something. One, Jake wrestled at Augsburg. Joe wrestled for the University of Minnesota for 3 years. They're just tough kids. I'm really proud of them. And like we all are of all of our kids. And up higher.
Give me a hug, John. You going? Give me a hug, John. I'll help you down.
Okay, just a minute. Just remember this. In my young days, I used to kick the crap out of this kid. But now my bones are brittle and stuff. But all these extracurriculars, and we had them at this school, and our kids tried so darn hard, and it was easy. It was easy to be a coach. And now this would have been a hell of a lot longer speech if I hadn't been told about a 2-minute warning. A 2-minute warning. Okay? So I'm done.
Thank you, John. I'd like to finally bring up, as we dedicate this building as a historical landmark, Earl Johnston from the class of 1951 on the Robbinsdale Historical Society, and Robbinsdale Middle School Principal John Cook.
Hello, everybody. My name's Earl Johnston. I went to Robbinsdale. I have had a real enjoyable time this last, half of my life, I think, since we started this, putting this together. But the one thing that I wanted to touch base before we get along with the plaque is the school that was here before this one was. That's the one I went to. And all the things they've said about this school is exactly what was over there. The pride in the school, the pride of the city in the school. When Robbinsdale was first built, all the businessmen downtown, everybody, the whole center of Robbinsdale was the high school once they built it. And we had some fantastic teams, just like they're talking about now. So it didn't just start with this school, although this is one heck of a good school. I probably spent more time here in the last year than I did my senior year in high school. So some of the things too that have come up while I've been around the hallways here, and I was gonna clear up. People wonder why I have shirts that are purple and gold when Robbinsdale is blue and yellow. Well, Robbinsdale wasn't blue and yellow. It was supposed to be blue, it was supposed to be purple and gold. Purple and gold. People say, well, then how'd they get away from that? Well, in the early 40s, when the Second World War was on, the band needed new uniforms. So Superintendent Cooper went looking, and there wasn't a lot of stuff you could choose from. So he found some blue band uniforms, and from then on, Robbinsdale was blue. But if you look back at the what the colors were initially made, it was purple and gold. So some of the other things, and I've already told John behind here, is in the next one of these we're going to have, I know Sorensen down here doesn't say it's going to happen again, but we know it well. One of the great teams Robbinsdale had was a second year. And they went undefeated, had one tie, scored 186 points to their opponent's 6. And they're the ones that I think would have been probably the first football award given by somebody other than the local, because they received a tremendous silver award for it, which is lost now. That's the one that these are the ones we're trying to get back. And some other things, back then there wasn't a lot of people. If you couldn't get a ride to a game with your parents, you had to find a way to get there. And of course, have any of you heard of streetcars? Well, streetcars were the big thing. And so the talk around school would be, how are you going to get there tonight? And they'd say, well, we're going to go on the Yellow Dragon. You're going to do what? We're going on the Yellow Dragon. The kids called the streetcars the Yellow Dragons, and that's how they got named that way. The award we're handing out is a plaque. I became president of the Historical Society in 2003 and was that way for 8 years. And I can't take the credit for it. The plaque program was started by Wayne Murphy ahead of me, but I was asked if this school would qualify, and of course it would. Wasn't only that, but I was glad we can get a plaque on here. That'll mean all the 3 schools, the main schools that represent anything historically here, will be taken care of. I don't know if any of you have ever been over Regent down here by 42nd, but as soon as they tore that school down, I knew we had to do something, and so we got the city. They really cooperated, and we were able to get the land right off the road there, separated from the development that they put in. And we were able to put a thing in there with the 2 plaques of the 2 schools that were there for all those years. If you want to stop by, I think you'll see what I mean. And the pedestal was built with the bricks out of the old Robbinsdale school. So it was not hard to get the Historical Society to say, yeah, let's go ahead and put a plaque up there. That should do it. So although it isn't mounted, it will be, and it'll be mounted right out by the front doors here. And anytime you want to stop by and look at it, you can. We're just going to put it on the pedestal up here today. And as the representative of the Robbinsdale Historical Society, John, I'd like to
First of all, I would like to thank the Robbinsdale Historical Society, and I'd like to read this plaque if I could. Robbinsdale Senior High School. Due to a tremendous enrollment increase in 1956, Robbinsdale area schools constructed this new high school. It was a high school for 26 years, 1956 to 1982. Over 17,000 students graduated during this time. Plaque sponsored by the Robbinsdale Historical Society 2013. On behalf of Robbinsdale Middle School and our students and staff, I am pleased to accept this. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're just about done. Mark, would you like to make some closing comments? Short ones. And Mike, I think we cannot leave this building without hearing the school song at least one more time. Mark, no closing? No. All right. Mike, take it away. Thank you, everybody. Remember, you can go down to the cafeteria, visit the archives. Please visit the auditorium. Check out the plaques in there from the Hall of Fame. And of course, There's still tickets available. Go to the Medina tonight. It's going to be a great time tonight. And pancake breakfast tomorrow here if you cannot make it tonight, or do both. Thank you again, and have a good afternoon.